Oh, probably 6 hours a day. Because I'm the only one living at my house, so it's boring.
I'd say no more than 10 hours a week
Total?
total.
I like to watch talk shows. I like to watch a good movie, an interesting musical music from way back in the day, not the ones that are up in there now. Those are ugly. I like to watch a good news program. I like to watch a good detective story.
I used to watch Battlestar Galactica a lot, the reimagined series. I like watching Rescue Me. I like the political shows on MSNBC as well.
My favorite show is This World Turns. That one is turning different ways. Now it's getting boring, so I'll watch that less and less. But in the summertime, it'll pep up a little bit. And I like to watch The Price is Right because the little boys in the house like to watch The Price is Right.
Any other shows you like to
And
watch?
I like to watch The Doctors. I think everybody should watch The Doctors.
The Doctors.
Yes, it's a program that's on. Doctors are the host of the show, and they tell you a lot of interesting things you should know about life, especially these young families and young children that are growing up that think they know it all.
Because as much as people say they don't like Jerry Springer-like stuff, they'll still watch it anyway.
And I do not like the Jerry Springer show. I think that is the stupidest show on television. No, I think some of those commercials should be zapped. I don't watch too many commercials because some of them don't make sense.
I try not to watch the commercials and just off to look at something else because, that is a form of manipulation, and, it's one of those, when you see that, then that gets to thinking, well, what else are they trying to do or sell, or how are they trying to manipulate us? So I'm not really into commercials. I moved to something else.
I don't like commercials. I think there's more commercial than there is TV time, and I know they have to pay for the program, but you got 2 hours of commercials and a half hour of what you're supposed to be watching. I don't like that.
It's one of those, rarely. Maybe if I'm watching football, I'll see the commercials and people think this is cool and that's cool, but I would prefer being off doing something else until the game's back on. That's kind of how I look at it.
Yes, I like to watch local news.
Occasionally, but not a lot. Occasionally some Pittsburgh stuff and some Youngstown stuff, but because that's where I grew up. But mostly the national news, or I go online to get it.
Just to see what's going on nationally. Keep up with certain things. I don't watch it all the time. I just pertaining to if there's something on there that I want to watch, I'll watch it. But there's about 8 channels on my that's all different news, so I can flip any channel and get a different thing. So
It's weird for me now because there's so many different stations. When I grew up, even though there was all the different channel stations, CNN, we just had the big 3. And so it's so defragmented. I preferred the old days of when you had Dan Rather and Peter Jennings and Tom Brokaw, where I thought you had even-handed balanced news. Some people might call them liberal, but I don't think so. The way I see it, I have my own mind. It's like I'll try to sift to see okay, this is fine, this is not fine.
Well, some of it it's just too much. It's just too much. They keep harping on the same thing, and I think they should, especially on when somebody is being murdered or somebody is being dead. They do not leave those people rest, and they keep bringing them on for the families to see and keep living it over and over and over again, and I think that is stupid.
But I think it's almost like they're doing it to everybody. You sometimes do see things, it's like, well, you're making certain things look a way that it is, or you're going to certain areas of town or certain groups of people where it's like, not everybody's like that, and there's always more to the story than you realize. So I could see that, but at the same time, I think it's a reflection of how we are as society when you see it that way, on how we think anyway. But they're still businesses, but at the same time, they're controlled by big corporations. You got MSNBC by, I think it's GE. You have CBS, and they're by Westinghouse and Sumner Redstone, his group. You have ABC, which is Disney. So they're gonna have to be very careful. I do think how they keep everything in line is with the reporters and all that is they get big paychecks. Yes, they go all over the world, but they have their $1 million homes and things like that.
Talk shows, the educational ones, when the man is asking questions about government and different things. They'll come up with different subjects and they discuss. Now, I do not like the one talk host. I turn him off because I don't like him. And I won't mention her name because I think everybody knows who he is. But some of them are interesting. If they're not, I turn them off.
And since I'm on the road a lot because of grad school at Pitt, it's not the same kind of stations. I might go to YAP and listen to that for a little bit, but then I might have some different tapes and have different songs in.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Country western, or whatever I decide to put on, but mostly country western. Usually I'm not listening to it. The radio's on, but I'm not listening to it.
No, commercials has nothing to do with it. It's one of those things, good chance if a commercial's on, I'm off listening to something else. Or I put a tape in or a CD in. It seemed like right after when Peter Jennings died, Ted Koppel left and moved on to something else. And it's just like, and he was there for 40 years, probably could have still had a career there, but it's just one of those things, maybe they're not always allowed to report things the way they are to report them. Sometimes that's why I check different things out, like projectcensor.org, to hear about the stories that are kind of buried, little things like nuclear waste going into space and, the different things like that water is going to become the major issue that the world will probably fight for because of it being so dwindling. Maybe not us, but the rest of the world, like having clean water, that's like great, and we take that for granted. So, all these things come into the head when I think of that.